What's going on? What's going on? Welcome back to the Military Retirement Podcast. John, how you doing, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
Life is good, man. Woke up this morning. Can't complain about that.
Still breathing.
Oh, man. Yeah, still breathing, right? So, a lot of stuff going on in the veteran community, the military and veteran community. Have you heard that the military is going to get paid now?
I heard that maybe on the 15th, with the wave of the magic wand of the president and POTUS and getting the Secretary of War involved, that they're going to make it happen. That's what I've heard.
That's right. That's right. I was looking at that, man, just yesterday, and because I did a quick update on the Green Logbook, and I was also seeing some videos at the same time from another news channel showing a line of service members in line for a food bank.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, well, I mean, if you're a lower rank, right, that's going to hit you pretty hard. It is, because I remember back in the day, you only get paid back in the day when I was in, right? Damn, that makes me feel old, right? Back in the day when I was in, when I was a young Marine, God, it was like 2,000 a month, something like that. And then a lot of the stuff goes towards childcare because that was not cheap. And then you're trying to make ends meet. So you kind of need those food banks. So shout out to the nonprofits out there who are making it happen for the service members. You know, they may not need it now. We'll see what happens on October 15th. Hopefully everything goes through as planned. But yeah, man, that's shout out to all those nonprofits. There's a ton of them out here where I am in San Diego. And I mean, I run into them all the time at these military fairs that they have going on. So shout out.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, for everybody else, once we get past all this crazy budget stuff, I guess starting in January of next year, it's signed in 1 December. The 2.5% COLA increase is going to go into effect. So everybody's pay should go up a little bit, slightly up. I know the veterans, the VA compensation pay is going up. Just looking at some of the numbers and some of the charts today, and some of them didn't make any sense to me, but yeah, that looks like that's going to happen, and that's already been approved, and that should go into effect starting January of next year.
Yeah, yeah, and along with that, if you all look at like the VR&E rates, they all went up as well. So I know I've been big on that stuff because I'm still waiting to start my master's program and all that through VR&E, and everything's on a standstill right now. Everything's on a pause because the government shut down. I got several emails from my VR&E counselor saying nothing is moving forward right now. Just stand by. Yet for some reason he's still sending emails. So make that make sense. Anyway, we're just standing by, but those rates did go up. So definitely check those things out.
Yeah, just one more thing to mention. I believe Friday was National Mental Health Day. And I know we're coming up on the season of the fall. We're in October now, moving into November, December. So this is the fall season, starting to get a little bit colder. People are starting to stay indoors a little bit more, as we're going to probably hear on the show a little bit. There's some nice storm weather going through the East Coast, all the way from South Carolina on up, affecting a lot of people. But just to remind people that as the season gets closer to winter and gets closer to the cold season, there's a lot of people out there that maybe don't have touch with people. That's kind of why we build this community, why we build this camaraderie of folks, of veterans, helping other veterans. But just remember to reach out to folks. If you haven't heard from them in a while, if you haven't talked to somebody in a while, if you see somebody acting a little strange on Facebook or even in person, reach out to them and sit down and just give them an ear and listen and see what's going on, because we want to try to prevent the uptick that happens around this time of year for suicide and mental health issues. And if you're having any issues and you need to reach out to somebody, on 988 is always available. Also, you can go to your local VA clinics, go to your medical providers if you have one available locally, and just reach out and get somewhere where you can talk to somebody if you need to talk to somebody. And if you see somebody that needs some intervention, or you see somebody who needs a little helping hand, reach out yourself and find those people and pull them back up so we can keep everybody safe.
Absolutely. Yeah. Buddy check season is in effect. Thank you for that, John.
Yeah, man.
All right. So with that, we got some guests in the back, and we want to bring them up. We got Mr. Jim Ritterhoff and Mr. Bob Whitney from Force Blue. Let's bring them up to the stage here real quick. Jim, Bob, how are you?
Hey guys, great.
How you doing?
Yeah, good.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Yeah, welcome. So, gentlemen, I guess we can start with Jim, man. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing with the veteran community here.
Yeah, so about 10 years ago, I should preface this by saying I myself am not a veteran, but my father was a World War II veteran. I've stayed very close to that community through friends and whatnot. And about 10 years ago, a buddy of mine who you may know of, Vic, he's kind of well known in the Marine Corps, a guy named Rudy Reyes, who's a dear friend of mine, ran into him in New York, and he'd had a really rough patch in his transition out of the military. He's kind of famous because he had made a docuseries a miniseries with HBO called Generation Kill that was about his first recon battalion. And anyway, sort of Hollywood, the transition out of the military, everything just had hit him hard. And he was in a very bad place. And I've been a scuba diver my whole life. My career was not in the military, but it was in advertising, marketing, and whatnot. And that's how I met Rudy. But anyway, I was getting ready to go scuba diving with my daughter, and I ran into him, and I just saw that he was in trouble. And I was like, hey, bro, why don't you come diving with me? Going down to the Cayman Islands to another friend had a dive resort down there. Very long story short, we spent a week diving together. And at the end of it, he was like, man, I got to get some more of my bros. This is like more therapeutic for me than any counseling or any rehab or anything I've done. And it was a peculiar time in my life because I was kind of burned out of what I had been doing. I had my own ad agency in New York, and I was tired of it. And I've been very involved in scuba diving and marine conservation my whole life. So we had this idea of what if we created an organization that could provide a workforce of these highly skilled combat divers, who the government spent millions of dollars to make the best possible underwater operators, and use them when they get out of the service to help our marine scientific community that really needs the manpower, right? But at the same time, even more importantly, give these veterans who have this incredible skill set a way to use that, and to continue to find purpose and a way to continue to serve when they get out of the military. So that was 9 years ago. Next year will be our 10th anniversary. So wow. I went home, quit my job, told my wife I was going to sell my agency and start a nonprofit. I had no idea what I was doing, but that was 9 years ago, and we've made it pretty successfully over those 9 years. We now have about 60 former combat divers from all branches. We've got recon Marines, Green Berets, Air Force Pararescue. We even have a couple SAS members from overseas. And we basically deploy alongside scientists to do marine conservation work all over the country and all over the world. So it's been really awesome. And, I've learned so much about the veteran community in the 9 years I've been doing this. And, we talk a lot about the difficulty of transition and any kind of trauma or anything like that guys may have experienced. But we realize what the biggest hurdle is just not having that sense of purpose anymore, right. That mission. And so to have the opportunity when we deploy to get these guys back together, doing something positive for the planet. I mean, there's nothing greater than yourself, greater than the health of the planet, and passing on that to future generations. They just thrive. So it's been really phenomenal. And where Bob comes into the equation is when we did our very first training deployment 9 years ago, we were like, we got to document this. We got to make a film about it because it's really unique. You're not used to hearing, I use the shorthand SEALs and scientists, but it's really across all branches. But you're not used to hearing these guys be the mouthpiece for marine conservation and why it's important. So Bob came down and was part of a team that helped us make a documentary about that very first training deployment. And we're like, every time we deploy now, we have to, if you don't film it, it didn't happen kind of attitude. So everything we do, Bob films. And what we're really excited about is we've actually evolved that to now we've made 2 years in a row. We're completing our second one. We've made these documentaries, these historical documentaries about World War II and the early predecessors to the SEALs and the Marine Raiders and everything, the naval combat demolition units and underwater demolition teams that were so essential in World War II that really begat the whole naval special warfare community. So that's what we're working on now. We've got our second film. First film was called Frog Fathers. Our second film is called Frog Fathers 2. And it's coming out here in about 2 weeks. So we're really, really excited. But I could talk all day. I'll shut up. But if you have any questions specifically, that's my connection to the veteran community and Force Blue and what we're trying to do. For guys who are interested and want to find a way to use their skills to continue to serve.
Absolutely, man. Well, no, I appreciate that, Jim. And Bob, real quick, that's awesome. The whole documentary piece too. Is this like you're going underwater? You're doing it all, above water, underwater?
Yep. So we have underwater camera guys. I don't do that, unfortunately, but yeah, as Jim said, last year we went to Normandy to tell the story over there, specifically the naval combat demolition units. Yep. And then this year we went to Okinawa for the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Okinawa. So we're telling that story. We took 4 military veterans. We have Recon Marine, Rudy Reyes, who Jim mentioned, Army Green Beret, and 2 Navy SEALs. So we took them to Okinawa to kind of understand the battle, and then really where, a lot of the special operations that they conducted in their careers started.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll just add the cool thing about this year, when we told the Normandy story last year, it was largely unheralded. Nobody knew about the naval combat demolition units. They were the first guys on the beach clearing the obstacles so that the rest of the invasion force could land. Yeah. And it was good timing because the Navy SEAL Museum in Fort Pierce was building a monument that was dedicated last year, a park right off Omaha Beach. So it was a good time to be telling that story. But this year, what was really awesome is that when we went to Okinawa, because a lot of the restoration work, the conservation that we've done has been around coral reefs, right? So in going to Okinawa, we got to actually rebuild an area of reef that 80 years ago was blown up by the UDT teams, both before the invasion and then as the invasion was, days later to resupply. So it's kind of a full circle moment for everybody because 80 years, we're rebuilding coral that 80 years ago, these guys' forefathers blew up. So it was a real way for our veterans to kind of reconnect with their past, and it's a pretty emotional exploration of the whole battle, but with that way of symbolically kind of connecting, the current and the past it was pretty profound. So we're really excited about it.
Yeah, I want to ask you 2 things, really. That's what I do. I throw like five different questions at one time, so you can answer those as you see fit. The first question is going to be related to what you mentioned in the very beginning about your friend Rudy saying that the diving experience was more therapeutic than any kind of other therapeutic exercises he had went to, whether it was counseling or whatever it happened to be. I can actually agree with that like 1,000%. I do a lot of free diving here in Sicily and blessed to have open waters that are pretty clean. And there's nothing like it for me in the world than to just be underwater by myself with the sea creatures and the animals and everything under there. But is there anything that you've gleaned from any of the other folks that you've worked with who may not been dive experienced before, who have said the same sentiment and where some of the things they might have said?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, one of the early, when we did our very first training, one of the cadre, we had an instructor's cadre of just the best people in marine conservation because they heard about it and they were like, wow, this is really unique. We want to be a part of it. One of them was a dear friend of mine, a guy named Dr. Wallace J. Nichols, who wrote a New York Times best-selling book called Blue Mind. And it's about this. It's about the neurology, really, of how when people are in, around, near, underwater, it has this restorative effect, this calming effect, that it makes us better people, literally, like physiologically makes us better. And he was part of that team and came down and kind of talked about this with the guys. And that first group of guys really bought into it, and so we added, he was a part of Force Blue up until, unfortunately, last year we lost him. I preface this by saying, what you said earlier about buddy checks is very important, because it isn't just the veterans. They're all people in all walks of life that are, your friends that you want to be there for. But anyway, we lost Jay last year, but but his message resonated, and every training class we've done, we typically train 8 to 10 guys. We onboard them every year. That Blue Mind idea, which it's symbolized by this blue marble that I'm actually wearing around my neck, because that's something that he did was hand out blue marbles to the guys and people all over the world, actually, as a reminder that we're a water planet. When you see us from space, all you see is a big blue marble, right? Because water is that essential to who we are. But yeah, to answer your question directly, I think all the guys, we're talking about trained military divers. They all dove in the military, but the diving you do in the military is nothing like what you do, as a civilian now or in service with Force Blue. I mean, you're having an opportunity to look around. You're not on a tack board, on a bearing. You're able to actually look around and enjoy the, just see the beauty and the wonder. And it's this sort of awe that is really positive. And I think it's very therapeutic, because it makes people feel small, and it makes them feel like, here's a world that's under siege, which it is, and it can't fight for itself. So you get some guys that understand that and love it and say, hey man, we need your help. And they're like, let's go, we're fully on board with this. So I think the answer would be everybody who has had an opportunity to work with us and dive with us has expressed some form of like, wow, this is, we call it mission therapy, because while there are any number, and they're all awesome, there are literally a dozen organizations that will take veterans who are not trained divers, that will just get you to become a scuba diver and experience that. We actually take it the next step. It's like, these guys are already divers. We just introduce them to scientific diving and then put them on mission. And that's the therapy. It's the diving, yes, but it's also having a point and purpose to go out and do good while we're diving. So yeah, it's a long answer. Yeah.
No. Great answer. Yeah, I can attest to that, man, because when I was living in Hawaii before I moved to San Diego, the waters are warm. It makes you want to get into the ocean, right? San Diego is a little bit different. The first time I came here, the water's frigid, right? And it's completely different. But being out there, everywhere you drive around where I lived in Oahu, you can see the ocean most places, and it does give you that sense of calm. It does give you that sense of overall well-being, and it's an ocean lifestyle is what it is. And I found that when I was in the water, that is when I felt my best. So something about seeing the blue is very calming, and it helped my overall anxiety and things like that, just kind of floating in the water. Right. I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm sure there's some psychology behind it.
Yeah, there's actually neurology. I mean, it literally changes your, I read somewhere once, when I was first starting to dive 30 years ago, that ultra marathon running doesn't lower your heart rate as much as scuba diving, because there's a calm, there's a peacefulness that once you're capable and you can really let go into it, that so it's physiological and, of course, mental as well, but I encourage, any of your listeners, if they're looking for something to read, pick up Jay's book. It's called Blue Mind. And I read it when it first came out, and it changed my life. I can say without equivocation that if I hadn't read that book, I probably, at the time when I did, I probably wouldn't have left my career to start a nonprofit around marine conservation, because it just resonated that much with me. So it's you don't have to be a scuba diver. I mean, it's just like, go out and like look at the water. You know what I mean? Like you said, if you're, just every day, if you can, like at some point in your life, or if you can jump in a swimming pool, if you can think about it when you're showering, there's something to water that is really, really therapeutic.
Yeah. And how was that jump for you, man, from selling your company
Yeah, it was hard
to just saying, hey, because you didn't know anything about the nonprofit world, right?
Yeah.
What was mentally, what was happening there?
You know what?
Like, what was the talk that you had with your wife and all that?
Yeah. Well, thank God she's a saint, for more reasons than just that. But no, she saw it. I think the thing with Rudy, the connection with him, if you've never met him, I mean, he's actually got a show on Fox now called Special Forces World's Toughest Test. He's one of the cadre of instructors. But if you've ever met him, he is a kind of irascible, larger than life character, right? And he was so passionate, and it kind of made me just want to do it, because if it could do it for him, that experience we had. And then he just introduced us to a bunch of guys that he had served with that were part of our first team, and they were all just such, it sounds cliche, but it's like, literally, you guys in the veteran community are the best of us. And it's like, you don't see that in the advertising world. I mean, I worked with a lot of shitty people, to be honest. I worked with some great people, but I worked with, it's a dehumanizing business, right? And to meet these guys and to see their journey and to see their struggles, and it's just like, this is like everything I ever wanted in my life. And I didn't realize it until I was, 50 years old. Right. But so, I mean, yeah, the difficulty of setting up a nonprofit and not knowing what you're doing is real. I mean, it's a steep learning curve. But the great thing is we had such amazing individuals that were dedicated to this, that we just built this thing while we were flying it. Like we didn't, take 2 years to build a nonprofit and then go out. We were like working wherever we could, scraping money from however, donors or sponsors, and that's how we built it. And because it started because myself and Keith Som, who's our third partner, who owned the resort that I brought Rudy to, or was the general manager of it, because it was all about helping one guy, helping a friend. It was pure. And we didn't sit down and white paper, like, how do you make a veterans nonprofit that'll serve? It was just like, we're going to go and we're going to do this. And because of that, we've had so much like serendipity and wonderful things that have happened, like karmically, I can't even describe, that have led it to be successful, because it's never veered from that simple idea of like, let's get these guys back to who they were, in a way that's positive for them and for the community at large. And that's all they want. You guys are servicemen. All you want to do is serve, right? So this is another way to do that.
Absolutely. I want to ask a question for the both of you, actually, and each of you can take whichever side you want to take of it, or your take on it. Working with so many service members, and in the process of filming documentaries, in the process of probably a lot of cutting room floor stuff that was kind of left out of the documentaries. But I'm really curious about your interpretation of any lessons that you've learned from the folks that you've worked with creating these films and working with these different marine projects over the years.
Yeah. I'll say that, I'm not a veteran as well. right? So coming into this community, it could be a little intimidating. Some of these guys are pretty big, and you know, you guys know kind of the personalities that are involved, but yes. So start, working with these guys. It can be intimidating until you get to know them, right? And you get to know these guys, and you realize the only thing that they care about is team and mission. So for someone like me who comes to the table, brings a different skill set than they have, I'm welcomed with open arms because they're knowing that I'm adding to the mission and to the team. And even though I'm not like them, and that goes for the scientific community as well. Like when they meet the scientific partners that we work with, it's the same kind of thing. They understand that they are contributing to the overall objective and the mission, and that's what these guys sort of identify with.
I like to tell anecdotes all the time because there's just so many of them, right? And what Bob just talked about, like, because if you look at it on paper, again, I use a shorthand. I'm not disrespecting any of the other special operations community, but SEALs and scientists, it's just a great way, a shorthand for us. Very different walks of life. You've got very different people that represent largely the marine scientific community is majority, it's women. And, special operations is a lot of, high testosterone guys. And they're also from, politically, they could be different, whatever, but we get on mission. And this weird thing happens out on the boat. Maybe day one, there's a little like, butt sniffing or whatever, like who's who in the zoo kind of thing. But by day two, it's like, hey, scientists are like, do you have any of those force blue hats, or could I get one of the, and then by day three, like some of the scientists are turning up for PT in the morning because the guys do PT, we have PT every morning. And you're talking about scientists that may have never done it or haven't done it PT in years, and it really becomes a family and very quick. I mean, these missions will be 7 days. We've had several week-long missions, but because even though they're from very vastly different backgrounds, they're sort of, both communities are kind of out there alone and unafraid, you know what I mean? And it, like, real knows real. And immediately our guys are like, identify like, hey, these people need our help and they're committed. And then vice versa, they look at our guys and they're like, they're not these, Neanderthals. They're like really curious, intellectually curious about the why. Like, why are we doing the mission that we're doing? How is this going to help? And I've gotten letters literally from some of our marine scientists we've worked with who've said, I was burned out, because a lot of them come from academia, right? They work at universities and then they get out in the water when they can, and they're like burned out teaching kids that don't really, aren't really into it, reading papers and, and having to write because that's what they have to do, papers. But you guys, like your team, re-energized me. It reminded me, made me remember why I got into this, like that passion of I had. So it's been a give and take for both sides. Like, and it's been really, I like to think that our team has been really helpful to the marine scientific community in ways beyond the work that we do. Like, we've inspired people, to remember why why this stuff's important. And I'll just shut up. Last thing I'll say is on this is that the last, because of our unique construct, because it's special operations veterans, and you're not used to hearing them talk about marine conservation. And we're in a very hyper-partisan political world right now. It's awesome because our guys can reach people that scientists can't. If scientists are out there talking about climate change and what's happening to our oceans or these ecosystems, people are like, yeah, whatever. But you got a Green Beret or a Recon Marine or a Navy SEAL or an Air Force pararescueman talking about it, and you're introducing a whole new audience, So that's where I like to think our real value is. It's not so much the work that we do, though that's important. It's not so much the veterans we help, though that's obviously important, but it's being able to communicate a nonpartisan message, to the world that like, this is important, at a time when that's really, I think, essential. So, yeah.
On mute. Still on mute. All good.
Am I on mute here? Yeah, no more mute.
There you go. Now I'm back.
Yeah. No, I wanted to ask you, gentlemen, what is the most interesting expedition that you've been on so far? I don't know how you would rate that, but
Bob, you want to take that one?
Well, I'll tell you from a storytelling standpoint.
Yeah.
These two, what we've done the last 2 years, just taking veterans to, again, the birthplace of some of these special operations and environments, and telling that story and giving them an experience that is really unmatched. For them to go back and just learn about what their forefathers did. That's been pretty cool, just to be able to tell the story of what these guys are doing now, and then what their forefathers did, and kind of combine that all together to tell that story is pretty unique. And I think the 8 veterans that we've done that with now, they'll say that it's pretty special.
Yeah,
that's excellent.
Yeah, and I would say for me, it all goes back to our very first mission, because we weren't sure this idea was going to work, because for all the reasons I just said that have made it wonderful, there were a lot of trepidations. Like, our SEALs and scientists, or special operations veterans and scientists, going to work? And our very first deployment was in 2016, right after. Might have been, actually it's 2017. It was right after Hurricane Irma hit Florida, and NOAA, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, invited us to come down and help triage the coral damage. Because if you think about it, what a hurricane does on land, it does on the water. It's like you have these beautiful reefs in Florida, but it literally looked like somebody had taken a hammer and just smashed them, right? So we were tasked with helping to like outplant and clean this up. And there was one particular coral colony, not to get too in the weeds about all this stuff, but it was a pillar coral, which was like maybe 1,000 years old. Very big, I don't know, the size of a Volkswagen maybe. And one of the last ones still in Florida that was healthy, and it had been ripped off the reef, and it was lying on the sand and then like 30 feet of water, and it was going to die, because that's what happens. It wasn't going to get light, wasn't going to get the nutrients it needed. It was going to die. And the NOAA folks, we were on the dive boat with them. They didn't, for whatever their protocols, they didn't really have the authority to do anything about it. But we didn't really have any protocols or anything. Right. So they were like, hey guys, I'm not going to say anything, but there might be something over there for you guys to look at. And again, long story short, 6 of our guys dove in, and we mixed some cement on the surface and brought it down. And these guys, as a team, got some airbags under this thing and lifted it up and got it cemented back onto the reef. And, it took maybe an hour just to get the thing up, and, but they did it. And the minute we have a film of it. And the minute it, got back on the reef, like the color came back and fish came back. And it was like proof that you guys have, that what we're training, that you guys have the skill set already. We didn't train you to be able to do that, but that it has real value in this world. And we got back on the boat, and literally the scientists on the boat were in tears, because our guys are like, what? No big deal. We've lifted Predator drones off the bottom of the, this isn't really. And they're like, no, you don't understand. That's like a T-Rex right there that you just saved. And I think the light went on for our guys. And I remember it vividly, because that's when I'm like, okay, we have something here. Like, we can do this. You know, if we're going to be able to solicit this kind of, do this kind of work and solicit this kind of response, we're on to something here. So that will always be my kind of seminal moment, you know, for this endeavor.
I would
it's
say
incredible.
too.
It's
Go ahead,
oh,
Bob.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, did you want to tell them about the turtle mission, Jim? Because that's kind of that's
please.
a favorite of some of the.
Yeah.
We want to hear about the turtle mission.
Yeah,
We
pretty
wanna hear
much.
about
Oh yeah.
Pretty much every year since we've been in business, we have partnered with an organization out of Florida that studies sea turtles in the Florida Keys. There's a disease. It's not unique to Florida, but it's especially bad down there. It's called fibropapillomatosis. But anyway, these turtles, green sea turtles, loggerhead turtles, can get this disease. And what it causes is these really horrific tumors that can include their eyes. And so the turtles can't see, so they can't eat, they can't avoid boats. So it's a whole, and then it can get inside them and it's fatal. And so every year we do this mission to go try to study the turtles. And turtles don't really want to be studied. It's not like they're just hanging out. So it's literally, we call it rodeo, turtle rodeo. You literally race around in like shallow water boats, low draft boats, and spot them. And then you chase them. It's like whaling. You chase them until they tire out. And then the guys literally have to jump and grab the turtles. And you're talking about, sometimes 400 pound, 200, 300, 400 pound giant turtles that don't want to be caught. And our guys are like riding them and then bring them back to the boat where the scientists are there and they can test them. And, if they're really in bad shape, we take them into the turtle hospital. But you can imagine, you got a bunch of guys that are, really into it and they're just jumping on turtles and swimming them back to the boat. It's a highlight of what we do. We try to do it every year and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Oh man, that's good. I'd like to see it. Is there any video of that?
Oh yeah. Bob shot a lot of that. So yeah.
All right. I look forward to seeing something like that. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. So is it just turtles or do you guys do anything like
we've done
on sharks or anything?
No, we haven't done a lot of shark stuff. We've been on some shark dives and we've done some tagging, but we've done a lot of coral work. We've been it's another great, like I talk about serendipity, another great, about 2 years into, it was, I guess, 2017, 2018, the NFL came to us and they were having a Super Bowl in Miami. So they wanted to do something. They like to do something for the communities where they had their Super Bowl. So we pitched this idea of doing a coral restoration project. It was also the 100th anniversary of the NFL. So we planted 100 corals, which took about 10 minutes, but they had media out and hell, it was a big deal for the NFL, right? And the dumb luck of it was the following year, the Super Bowl was in Tampa because you don't usually have the Super Bowl in the same state 2 years in a row, right?
Yeah.
So we went back and said, hey guys, let us take what we did. Instead of 100 pieces of coral, let's do an entire football field of coral restoration. And we'll spend a whole year doing it. And this was like during the pandemic, so it was really difficult. But we built this amazing coral reef over the course of the year. We made a documentary about it with the Super Bowl, with the NFL. So my point is we've done a lot of coral work and we've done a lot of work in particular in Florida for that because of that project. And we keep going back because there's always more to add. But we've done with the Super Bowl when it was it wasn't in San Diego, but it was out in Los Angeles. We did a kelp restoration project, same thing. You've got these sea urchins that create these barrens. They just eat everything. And seals and everything like that leave because there's no kelp. So, but the great news is if you go in and you get rid of the urchins, the kelp will come back and it comes back like really quick. Like in 6 months, you'll have a huge kelp forest. So we did that. We've done stuff in the Great Lakes, up in Michigan, where we've helped survey some old shipwrecks and provide data, help scientists like how the wrecks are doing and whatnot. We've done a lot of marine debris removal. We're not talking about like bottle caps or plastic. We do some of that, but like big like ghost gear, like traps, abandoned fishing traps, or that are just banging around causing problems. So we'll pull stuff like that up. And so if there's water, we found, it's kind of disappointing, but it's great for us, is that there's a lot of problems out there in all kinds of water. And you got our site up. But if you anywhere there's water, there's a need. And now we're getting to the point where we're getting a large enough team where we can deploy, have multiple teams operating at the same time on multiple projects. So, there you go.
This is all awesome stuff, man. Look at that.
Installing
I'm
coral.
just flipping through the pictures on your site here. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So is it Jesco? What are these things called? These are
trees. Here? Okay, these are coral trees that are basically like piping, QVC piping, like that. The scientists actually grow coral in the water column, little corals, and then we fragment them. Or when they get big, we can take them down and outplant them onto a healthy reef to help it. So, but there are all these nurseries throughout Florida that we've helped install or maintain.
Are they just floating, or what's holding them?
They're actually, no, that's another thing we do is you have to moor them with anchors, and then they float.
I see that down here.
Right. Yeah. But then you have to move them, and it's an involved process, but we just did one this year. We're very lucky. Public Supermarkets, which is a big supermarket chain in the Southeast, headquartered in Florida. They did a register campaign for us where, when you check out, it's like, hey, do you want to give $1 to, in this case, it was veterans doing marine conservation work. And they raised a lot of money for us to be able to do all these projects in Florida. And we just installed a coral nursery this summer for them. Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
Super fascinating. Is there anybody out there who maybe is not connected to the kind of diving community, maybe not a special operator who came from like the SEALs or something like that, but if you wanted to talk to maybe a group of regular veterans who are curious about getting involved, what would be some of the first steps, and would there be any kind of like pre-reading material, anything you would want them to like take a look at before they decide?
Yeah, we had a program that unfortunately we've kind of put on hiatus just because the backlog of actual special operations guys that we're trying to get through that have, I've gotten emails from guys that fit the criterion from France, Germany, Israel, it's really gotten to be kind of like an international appeal now. But prior to that, we had a program, and we may, if we get once we get the backlog of guys taken care of, where if you are any veteran, you could have been in the Army, never saw the water your entire career, but if you got out, you've heard about us, or you've just started diving on your own or whatever, if you reach a certain level of proficiency in civilian diving, which is, we asked it be the rescue diver level, you can actually, I think you can go through I'd have to talk to our director of dive operations, because he's the one that set this up, but you can actually use your education grants through the VA to get, or through the I don't know if it's a GI Bill or whatever, but to get your dive training paid for, right? And if you can get up to rescue diver level, then you can come and kind of proctor what we do. Like, we'll bring you out on a mission or whatever. And if you're interested after that, then we can put you in the pipeline to go through the actual training, because there is a process, because we are affiliated with NOAA and something called the AAUS, which is a certifying authority that gives us permission to go on scientific boats, right? That you have to go through our pipeline to become a force blue diver. But Right now for 2026, we're probably not going to do that just because we got to get through the special operations guys that have been waiting to join. But yeah, our goal is to hopefully, I mean, I would love to, it's just funding, right? I would love
It's
to
just
be
money.
at a point. I'd love to get to the point where, we were thousands of people, thousands of guys deploying all over the world. But, like I said, we're kind of building this plane while we fly it a little bit. So,
Yeah.
And for
Yeah,
those interested, if you look on
yeah, visit our website.
PADI.com.
Well, I would actually go to NAUI, which is NAUI. It's
Okay.
that's the certifying. There's PADI and there's NAUI. They're the two big dogs in the sort of civilian diving world. We're affiliated with NAUI worldwide.
Okay.
And they have a program that can get you, particularly if you're a veteran, like I said, where you can use your education benefits to pay for the training, the dive training. You can go all the way up, on the civilian side to become an instructor, dive master, dive instructor. And it's really a whole nother career, that some of our guys are now, in fact, the majority of them are now, availing themselves of, because it's one of those things you start doing it and you want to do it more and more and more. And next thing you know, it's what you're doing with your life. So, and then the last thing I'll add, because it's important if your audience is interested, we also started a program about 5 years ago now, called our Ocean Conservation School, or OCS. We started it for Gold Star kids, for Gold Star family members. It's a 5-day long program that we do, typically once a year, where we'll bring these kids in, and it's, they have to be 12 because that's when you can get certified to scuba dive. But, 12 to 22, we've had kids. And you spend a week with us and we get you your dive certification, your open water certification. All our guys are the instructors. But we also do it with a real heavy marine conservation slant. Like, we're not teaching you to dive because it's cool. We're teaching you to dive so that you can be the next generation of leaders to protect us. And then, we make them do a lot of push-ups and stuff like that. So it feels like, something their fathers may have gone through or whatever. And it started for just Gold Star kids, but now we're doing it for, really any veteran, kids of veterans or military families. So, and that's been really rewarding. I mean, I think that turtle mission might be a close second, but I think the being able to teach these kids and get them passionate about what we're passionate about and have them join us has become like a favorite that we do every year. So, and Bob has documented all of those as well. So we have some pretty powerful films about the kids learning to dive with us. It's pretty amazing.
Jim and Bob, have you all ever connected with this island called Coconut Island off the coast of Kaneohe Bay in Oahu? So we used to do these officer outings and stuff like that back when I was out there, and we would kayak from the Kaneohe Bay base to Coconut Island, and that's where they have the Hawaii Institute of Marine Biology out there. I'll put it up on the stage here.
Yeah.
And we would do tours. I mean, we'd meet all the scientists out there. They'd have all the, the sharks and turtles and stuff like that. Things that, there's a bunch of baby hammerheads around that area. Very cool. Have you all ever connected with these folks and actually done some work out there in Coconut Island?
No, we've not. We just actually sent a team of 2 guys out to, I can't pronounce it, but Papa, we call it Papa. It's the National Marine Sanctuary, one of the National Marine Sanctuaries off of Hawaii, but that was on a liveaboard. But we've got big eyes to get back out to Hawaii, just because scientist I had the pleasure of meeting a bunch of years ago. Unfortunately, she's passed away, but a woman named Ruth Gates, who I believe it was at that center, she may have worked through there, was doing research on corals, super corals, as they were called, because corals that could be kind of engineered to be heat resistant to, rising ocean temperatures. that would be a game changer for, because you hear about bleaching events like the barrier reef and everything like that happen all the time because water temperatures are getting warmer. She was really the pioneer out of Hawaii, and I believe it was that institute, in trying to create corals that would be more resilient as water temperatures rise. So yeah, Hawaii is definitely, we're trying to hit, we started this other thing called our tour of duty, which is, people don't realize it, but there are 17 national marine sanctuaries around the United States, to include, I think, 3 in Hawaii. But they're everywhere. There's one off Texas, they're off the East Coast, they're in the Great Lakes, they're pretty much nationwide. And our goal is to visit every one of them to not just perform whatever work needs to be done there, but to engage with the communities around them. Because again, we are a unique microphone, to just raise people's awareness. I mean, these are like national treasures. They're like our national parks. Only nobody, unless you're a diver or a fisherman, or you live that, you don't see them because they're underwater. And they're very special places, and we need to, we should be protecting them as a country. So we try to, I think we're about 5 through 17. There's 17 currently. They keep adding them, so our to-do list gets longer and longer. But there are 2 in Hawaii that we've done one. There are 2 more that we want to get out and hit here, hopefully in the next year or so.
Anything, actually, I want to say, if you're ever interested, we have a small little Navy community here in Sicily, also in Naples, mainland Italy as well. I don't know if you've made the venture or made the thought of having a team come over and speak to the community locally, because there is a pretty big diving community, and it's mainly veteran run. I know 2 specific diving instructors here for scuba who are veterans. And I'm not sure about Naples, but I'm sure there's a bunch there as well. But if you're ever interested in coming over, feel free to reach out, and I'll help grease the skids as much as I can on this end. It'd be great to have you over.
Yeah, the challenge for us, because we are a nonprofit, is always just, again, I'll always say it, it's funding. We've been very lucky because we have some amazing corporate sponsors. The NFL, like I mentioned, public supermarkets, Pepsi has sponsored us in the past. Luminox, which is a international watch company. So as we add sponsors, and the focus right now, and I think it's good because we have our semi-quincentennial coming up next year. It's really been kind of US focused up until this point. But with the projects like we just did in Okinawa that Bob's working on right now, and we're starting to get, as I said, we got some SAS members, we got an SBS member, we're starting to get some international recruits. My dream is someday, I probably won't live long enough to see it happen, but my dream is for this thing to become an international organization where we could, deploy anywhere, kind of. And I always tell the joke whenever I do, not joke, but whenever we do presentations about Force Blue, I always start by saying, yes, this is a novel concept right now, but if you look back historically, it isn't really a new idea at all. Jacques Cousteau, who is the reason why I grew up wanting to be a diver. I'm 62 now, so I'm a little older than you guys, but that was on my TV every Sunday night, the undersea world of Jacques Cousteau. And I grew up in Pennsylvania. I was nowhere near the water, but that inspired me to want to get involved. Well, before he was ever Jacques Cousteau of the undersea world, he was the commander of the head of Command Hubert, or whoever the French special operations were at the time. So a lot of the guys that were on his boat, the Calypso, other than his family, were all guys that he had trained. They were all special operations veterans that he had trained. So this idea of using, military trained divers to do conservation work isn't new, and it's an international idea. So I think, all we need is the funding and we can do it. So I should also say to your audience, anybody who wants to go visit our website, it's forceblueteam.org. So that's where you can find, and you can donate, which is the added benefit there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Are you guys on maybe having like an Instagram page or something like that
Yeah.
where you show
Yep.
photos and all that?
Yeah, we're
What's
on
that
all
page?
social media. It's just at Force Blue Team is where you'll find
At
us on
Force Blue Team.
Facebook and Instagram. And I think we're still on Twitter. I don't know. Yeah, but largely Facebook and Instagram.
All right, awesome. At Force Blue. So yeah, we got your website up on there. Gents, anything else you want to leave the audience with, the community with, about what you're doing, your efforts? Maybe talk a little bit about the Frog Fathers film. Anything you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah, Bob, you want to tell them about the film, and then we'll.
Yeah, so you can actually watch Frog Fathers 1, the first one that we did in Normandy. You could Google it. It's on YouTube. It's also on Magellan TV and Fox Nation. So that's out now. And then we have a trailer for Frog Fathers 2, which I could send to you. And then we're going to get it ready for the premiere here in a couple weeks. Oh yeah, there's the second one. Yep. And beyond that, we're still trying to figure out where people can watch after that. But step one will be just to, get it done. But in the meantime, you could go watch the trailer or Frog Fathers, the first one, Lessons from the Normandy Surf.
Yep.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm definitely going to watch that. Awesome.
Yeah, and I would just encourage, if anything we've said has inspired, your audience to want to go jump in the water, then we've done our job. But if not, like I really encourage people to check out Blue Mind, the book. It's really kind of the Bible that Force Blue was built on. So it's a phenomenal book, and I think if they're not already inspired, it'll make people think about, water in their own lives and how it can be helpful. So,
gents, you have inspired me to want to jump in the water myself right now. It's damn cold outside, but I think I might do it. So I will say to the folks out there listening too, there's programs on military bases. Like I'm not too far from Camp Pendleton. Camp Pendleton has a diving program, a boating and diving program out there. So check with your bases, especially if you're, of course, near the coast, to see if they offer some kind of diving programs to get you at least in the water or some level of certification too. So, gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. It has been awesome talking to you all. I am now a little bit smarter than I was before I joined the podcast, but thank you for that. John?
Yeah, really. Thanks for being patient with us again as we try to set this up and get you guys on here. It's not always a catch and release with podcast guests. Sometimes we got to do our work on our end as well. So thank you for being patient with us, and thank you for actually coming here and spending time with us. Really love to get the information out there. It kind of inspired me that we had a couple guests on before talking about the fallout after the nuclear bombings in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and some of that story and that documentary that they put together. And then that kind of led me to you, which is what great books, and I call life a great book. It leads you to the next great book. Right?
Yep.
So it was great to have you on. If you ever want to come on again and share anything, if we have Frog Fathers 3 coming out, I'd love to know if you've got like the behind the scenes. It's probably all on YouTube. So if you want to go check out some of the videos that have been filmed, are going to be on YouTube. And amazing to meet with you, and pleasure.
Well, I thank you guys for giving us the platform. I mean, it means the world to us to be able to share our story. Obviously, you can tell I love to talk about it. So thank you guys for giving us the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, gentlemen. Awesome. Thank you, Bob, Jim. Thank you.
All righty.
Thanks,
Have a
guys.
great Sunday, guys.
You too. You
You too. Thank you.
Man, I learn something new every day, man. I really do. I've never been a big diver myself. Like I think I've tried it once, and it's usually like snorkeling and stuff like that for me, right? But I mean, I'm trying now that I've hit that kind of retirement, that military retirement, right? I'm trying things that I've not done before. Like I'm out there doing some golf now, which I haven't done much in my entire time in the Marine Corps, but I'm willing to try something new. Diving is probably on that as well. I've just never been fond of, I guess I watch too many movies, dude. I don't like going in the water. So the last time I went under the water, like deep underwater, was in Hawaii. And I recall I was watching a sea turtle. Kind of, they go into these like caves and stuff as like the ground kind of levels down. It's going into this little underwater cave. And I turn around and it's just dark and deep blue ocean. And I'm not a big fan, man. I have to be honest. I'm not a big fan of the dark, deep blue ocean, dude. But you know, I guess you got to try it. I got to try it. So I just got to get over that. But very cool what they're doing. Very cool that they're taking these trained divers, you know, special operations divers, you know, Navy SEALs, Rangers, you know, from these operational commands. They're now out of the military. They're looking for their purpose, and they're linking up with scientists, marine biologists to do something about, you know, these coral reefs and the underwater world. Because I like what he said, man. It's nobody's going to defend that world, right? Nobody's going to defend that. It's up to us to take care of that stuff.
Yeah, it's strange how these weird things happen and how you get connected with people. I literally just got done watching for the first time ever was I watched The Abyss with my wife, which is basically kind of what he was talking about. What they do is they pair up like, you know, technical special operators with marine scientists and put them in a vessel and put them down to do some work. And then of course Avatar movies, and then my involvement with swimming and diving. And I mean, I drowned almost twice when I was a kid. And then I didn't actually learn to swim until I was about 38. And I taught myself by reading a book. So that's, but once you get, I think I agree, once you get comfortable with the water, because that's really the hurdle, right? Is being comfortable being underwater for long periods of time and trusting the equipment if you're doing scuba diving, or trusting your breath holding techniques, your swimming abilities in the water wherever you may be diving if you're free diving. Because once you get over that mental hurdle and you can actually enjoy the underwater life, then you can really get to, and you don't have to go so deep, right? If you're in a good area to dive, you can go down a couple meters and you can really see tons of stuff that you would never see before. And it's fascinating because it's 75% of the world is covered by water. And we only see a small little percentage of that when we go swimming or fishing or whatever. Like it's just a little bit of the vast majority of the planet that we get a glimpse of and some of that stuff. So I actually wanted to pull both of those books up because he had mentioned them, and I know we didn't put them in the notes or anything, but Blue Mind is one he mentioned. It's definitely going on my reading list. It'd probably be the next thing that I read. And then if you are just getting into swimming, or if you want to become a better swimmer, if you want to unlearn your bad habits of swimming and get better habits of swimming and be able to swim comfortably for long periods of time and get comfortable with the water, this is the book that I read. I sat down and read it. I went to a small little 10-foot long pool in the back of a hotel for a month in San Antonio, Texas. I did everything that was in the book, and I taught myself to swim. And then about 2 months later, I came to Sicily and went down to the southern tip and swam 1 kilometer in the ocean, in the open water. First time ever doing that. So literally from book to learning how to swim, to swimming laps in the pool, to going to the ocean. Like it was that fast.
Man, look at that.
And I'm no special learner. Like I'm not smart.
You got to put the practical applications in place too. So it's just
yeah.
The book will take you halfway. You got to do the work.
If a dummy like me can learn it, you can learn it. Trust me.
Oh man. And I like what Freelance Travel said here, man. He says, I'm realizing in retirement that I was lacking in real hobbies. And I agree with that, because everything I did was so structured, like the way I swam and all that stuff. It was like how they taught me in the Marine Corps, right? I guess I never did a lot of things for fun. It was always like there had to be a workout behind it if I did it, right? And I had to get a sweat in, whatever. So yeah, exactly like freelance travel set, man. I didn't know how much I would be enjoying golf as much as I am now. And a big shout out to, let me pull them up here real quick. PGA HOPE. All right, so we're not affiliated with them or anything. I mean, I guess the only way we're affiliated with them is by doing for me going to do their course that they're providing for veterans. Let me pull them up here. Try and do 5 things at one time here. Yeah, PGA HOPE. So they have a program where they take veterans out there, and it says serving those who served. And I'm in the program right now. You sign up for it. There's also a waiting list and all that stuff. But very cool program. They actually team you up with a golf professional. There's like maybe 5 or 6 that show up, and they go over everything with you, man. I've been posting up videos on the Green Logbook Shorts and on Instagram of me getting instruction by this gentleman Scott, and he's showing me the swing. He's like, work on the hips, just everything. It's like my 3rd time hitting a golf ball, dude, and I'm swinging these things. I'm hitting these things far. I'm working on the technique and all that, but they gave me a golf club to try out to take home to work on my swing at home. But they're trained in PTSD. They're trained in working with veterans with missing limbs, things like that. So PGA HOPE, man, it's completely free, and there's like 20 veterans in my group, and they kind of break us up into like different sections. Very cool. And they're nationwide. So it's not just in California, it's nationwide. So you can find them online, PGA HOPE. PGA HOPE, PGAreach.org is what it is, /PGA HOPE. Yeah, here you go. Freelance Travels. He says, we were workaholics in the core. I am terrible at golf, but love trying. Gardening is the next venture, dude. I like that. I like that. I got a backyard. I just planted a mandarin tree, a lemon and lime tree in the back. And most of the stuff, I had green onions and they freaking died. So I'm like, how you got to be terrible to kill some green onions, man. But I got to get into gardening, dude. Very therapeutic. Plus you can eat the stuff that you grow, that's where it's at. I think you're on mute, man.
Oh, I am on mute. Huh. No, I said we have a lot of herbs and stuff here in our little gardening experiment that are fairly easy to keep alive. But yeah, gardening is it's a good hobby, definitely. And you can eat what you grow.
Hell yeah, man. Like I love it when I go back home to like my parents' house, man. They have obviously they've been living in their house for a long time. They've got avocado trees and papaya trees and stuff like that. It's just nice to be around all that stuff. You smell the guava and all that. My neighbor's got a guava tree, and you can smell it. So good, man. So got to get into something, man. I found that up until recently, my hobbies that I was getting into was I love going to the batting cages because my kids play baseball, right? And I love boxing. I do like boxing at the YMCA. But after a while, it's like, I want something more relaxing. I don't want to just be like hitting stuff all the time. It's fun, but I say that and I'm playing freaking golf. You're hitting the ball, right? But it is, it's relaxing. You get to have a conversation. How often do you have a conversation when you're boxing somebody? Not often.
Yeah. Talking smack, maybe, but not having a conversation.
Talking smack, dude. No. Can't do that.
This is one I've been trying to find this. I have a copy of this book somewhere on the bookshelf. I was looking for it last week, actually, when you mentioned the PGA golf thing. This book is, it's as far as I can understand. And to me, it seems like one of the better books that'll teach you something, kind of like that Total Immersion book. It's one of those books that can actually teach you something step by step, because it gives you the proper sequence of how to learn things. This particular book for golfing I would say write down how you're doing before you read it. Sit down and read this book maybe on the weekend before you go back and do another session of golf, and then go back in and see what the difference is. I'm sure it'll be tremendous.
Yeah. Yeah. I wrote that down here. Let me show you one that I just picked up. I heard about this one a while back, but I had it in my Amazon cart, and then I went to the bookstore and they had it for like $1. So I picked it up. It's called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
Yep.
And it's
Reading it
not
now, actually.
specifically. Are you really?
Yep.
Oh, very cool, man.
Yep.
You got to tell me how it is, because I have not started it yet. I did pick up Meditations for Mortals, or my wife actually got it for me. I know we've talked about that before, but I did pick up from the library. I'm in the middle of this one here. I'm in between two of them right now. I'm finishing up this guy, Leadership in War. Very cool. Andrew Roberts makes it very easy to read about Napoleon, Horatio Nelson, Winston Churchill. He writes about Hitler and Stalin, all these different things here. But my wife sent me over to Trader Joe's, right? She's like, hey, she was at work, and I happened to be home, and she's like, hey, can you stop by Trader Joe's and pick up these Halloween tote bags, I guess they are. And I'm like, all right, yeah. I got to go out there. I got to go get new tires in my car anyway, and it's right next to the Trader Joe's, right? So let me just stop by over there. Dude, what I tell you, and I wish I got the video here somewhere. The line was like 3 blocks long, dude. And the Trader Joe's had not even opened yet to get freaking tote bags that say Halloween on it or something. And I called my wife. I'm like, look, I'm not standing in line for some freaking bags. I'm not doing that. So I went and got my tires, and I came back later. There was no line. Right. But it got me thinking. I was like, okay, well, I heard about Trader Joe's and how they work with the brands, right? Like, I think they buy out brands and then they make it their own Trader Joe's brand, right? I don't know exactly how that works, but there's a big movement. There's a big following. They have a good customer base. So I picked this one up at the library not too long ago, Becoming Trader Joe. I want to know, I'm a big fan of psychology and all that in business, and I want to know how they become that brand. Similar to Apple, you have the Apple fanboys or whatever they call them, right? They have a good following. Trader Joe's has the same thing. I want to know what they know or what they're doing, because we're going to do that here on the Military Retirement Podcast.
I hope so.
We'll see.
That's the plan.
That's the plan, right? So, but yeah, man, every little bit you learn, going from military to civilian is one step forward. So if you want to learn a little bit more, you can pick up our book, Military, or Bottom Line Up Front, what you need to know before you leave the military, or when you're leaving the military. 10 short chapters that John and I came up with on what we learned, what we wish we knew when we were leaving the military. And shoot, it's going almost on 2 years since I retired now. It goes by so quick, dude. So quick. December, it'll be 2 years. And that means I'm also going to be eligible for SPP withdrawal. So getting out of the SPP. I was doing a lot of research on it, man. Like, there's only like 2 instances when you can leave the SPP. That's between your 2nd and 3rd year, and if you're 100% VA disabled after 5 years. So I don't know what happens if you miss those, or if you're not 100% VA disabled. Like, are you just locked in for life? Is there no way of getting out of that? I don't know. Because it is a good amount, man. It's almost $300 a month.
No.
So it's kind of a pain, man. I have yet to hear, or I've asked questions. I have yet to hear anybody who's like, yeah, I'm locked in forever. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, it's going to be a while for me before I can get into it. Can always decline SPP on the 2656. Yeah. If you're doing it before you get out, that's definitely an option.
That was my issue. Is I had never really done research on the SPP when I was getting out, when I was picking up my DD214, and they ask on the forum, right there, like, hey, do you want SPP or not? And that's when I asked that corporal. I'm like, hey, what do people usually do in this situation? Do they go for it or what? And I'm like, at the same time, I'm looking online and stuff. And he's like, yeah, most people just check it off and then they'll cancel it afterwards. I'm like, whatever, I'll do that then. Come to find out, it freaking takes like an act of Congress to get out of that stuff if you miss the dates. Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Well, hey, shout out to Hellfish Haven, Navy Cop, and Freelance Travels, among many, many, many others. We just put up a post the other day, or actually today. I think we hit 175,000 views, something like that, which is a pretty big milestone. So just a thank you to everybody out there who supports us, who's watching, who's listening, who's chiming in the comments, who's sending us comments after the fact to the videos or on any of the podcast stuff. We read every single one of them. We reply directly. We do not have a team of AI bots doing any of that work for us, not yet anyway. So yeah, thank you everybody for making this possible for us to be able to build this community, build this tribe of veterans moving on beyond military service. Really, really, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And John, real quick, before we head out of here, have you received anything from any one of our past guests recently in the mail?
Not yet, but mail usually takes a little bit longer than it does in America here. Because
should I spoil it? Should I spoil it? I won't spoil it.
Yeah, we'll hold off. We can
okay.
Bump gifts.
I won't spoil it here. All right. Just don't watch any of my older videos on my recent videos on the Green Log, because I do give a shout out to one of our guests on there for sending us something very much appreciated. But yeah, once you get it, it is. I'm so grateful for this community, man. For just everybody who comes together and joins us every Sunday. We do it because we love it. As simple as that. Simple as that. So doing the research, doing the video editing, all that stuff, doing the live streams and getting all the guests and all that. We do it because we simply love it. We love putting out good information. And frankly, we love hearing your stories. We love hearing what you got to say. So very cool. Very cool. With that, if you ever want to be a guest on the podcast, or if you know somebody who would be a good fit as a guest on the podcast, shoot us a quick email, info@militaryretirementpodcast.com. We'd be happy to hear from you and talk. If you maybe just want to say, hey, feel free to comment on this video or shoot us an email. I mean, we get it all the time. People ask us, hey, we get emails from people who have zero to do with military retirement or the veteran community that send us emails. Hey, we think we'd be a good fit. But I mean, we vet folks. We want to bring you the best possible guests on the show, right? So yeah, there we are. And then you can also follow my stuff. I'm on the Green Logbook on YouTube, greenlogbook.com, things like that. It's always fun to put out good information. I've just been putting out like my information Fridays, just kind of top 5 things that I'm learning that you should know on the veteran community. And then dropping a new video every Monday. So I just worked on one. I'm working on one right now. It's on the VR&E process, the Veterans Readiness and Employment process. Kind of a masterclass almost. I don't like that word masterclass. I think it's being overused, but it's kind of it's a guide. on the VR&E and how to get approved for a bachelor's or master's program, at least what I did to get approved and what I learned along the way, just talking to folks on the VR&E. So that's going to come out tomorrow. I'm just doing the editing part right now and making it look all nice for everybody out there. I'm editing out all the cuss words in between. So that's what it is.
Family friendly.
Family friendly, right? Because if not, then if you have too many cuss words, YouTube will not promote your stuff, right? You have to put like a rating on there. Like, is there any cuss words? Is there anything that is offensive? Blah, 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 blah. They definitely won't promote your stuff. Let me see real quick. Hellfish Haven. This is my second time going into VR&E. I've got some insight about taking just one class at a time, getting full pay. Yes, yes. So I will be covering that as well. If you go through a college like I'm a big fan of National University and the way they structure their stuff. It's one class a month, and that's exactly how it is. One class a month. And that fulfills, as long as it's in person or even hybrid, that fulfills a requirement for the full monthly housing allowance. And I think my upcoming class will be one class a month, but I need to be in class, in person, 1 day a week. The rest of the time is just online. So very cool the way they do it. With that,
amazing. Yeah,
I think
Hellfish might be on the show sometime soon. We're working through the details of that, but
oh, is that right? Freaking Hellfish! Look at you, man, doing big things, man.
Yep.
We'd love to have you, dude. We'd love to have
Yep.
you. All right, let me see here really quick. Navy cop, any direction on who I can talk to in regards to filing an appeal to get back into VR&E? My counselor is not good, enough said, and I need to reapply. That is a great question, and Navy cop, I wish I had an answer for you right now, but you have given me something to research, sir. So I thrive on that stuff, and I will do some research for you. Filing an appeal.
Yeah, and I'll see if I can ask. I just had my counselor on the phone last week, but the next time I get on call with him, I will see if I can ask about that.
Yeah. Big stuff for VR&E, man. I was going through, just scrolling through like Facebook, and the amount of people that get denied for VR&E is amazes me. And I'm like, well, I guess it's because the way you structure your request, right? And a lot of it is your counselor too, right? If your counselor's having a bad day, they're not going to want to do the legwork and all that stuff. So that's what I've heard. But the amount of people that get denied is astounding to me, and I'm doing my very best to put out information on hopefully getting folks out there approved for a bachelor's or master's degree, if that is the route you want to go.
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome sauce.
So with that, VR&E, that's a topic for another time. We could talk about that stuff all day, but thank you all for being here with us and listening to us run our mouths and listening to our guests, being here for our guests, Force Blue, Jim and Bob. They're doing awesome stuff with the veteran community for the oceans. So definitely check them out. Force Blue.
Yep. And as always, if you like what we're doing, if you want to support us, by being here, you're already supporting us. By watching these videos and listening to our podcasts all the way through, you're supporting us 1,000,000 times over, and we can't thank you enough for that. If you feel like leaving comments, if you feel like leaving reviews, if you feel like clicking the like and subscribe button, those are all things that you can do to help support, to build this community bigger, to allow us to bring better guests on, to bring more information out to more people out there, more veterans in the same situation that you may or may not have been at one point in your career moving to civilian life. So thank you very much. And as always, we will see you next.
Do all the things out here.